StudyJesus.com presents Bible Stories, where biblical stories of the ages come alive.
We continue with our series of Bible stories from the Old Testament with another true story found in Genesis chapter 37, verses 1 through 36. This one titled, The Rich Man's Son Who Was Sold as a Slave.
StudyJesus.com presents Bible Stories with your host, Dr. Joe Jackson. Stories directly from God's holy word, told in easy-to-understand story form that the whole family will enjoy, and featuring the work of a talented artist illustrating each week's story. Now gather the family because it's time for this week's Bible story.
After Jacob came back to the land of Canaan with his 11 sons, another son was born to him, the second child of his beloved wife, Rachel. Jacob had worked a long time for Laban so that he might marry Rachel. And soon after Rachel gave birth to her second baby, she died. Jacob was filled with sorrow. Even to this day, you can see the place where Rachel was buried on the road between Jerusalem and Bethlehem. Jacob named the child whom Rachel left Benjamin. And now Jacob had 12 sons. Most of them by this time were grown-up men, but Joseph was still a boy, 17 years old, and his brother Benjamin was, of course, almost a baby. Of all his children, Jacob loved Joseph the best. Jacob gave to Joseph a coat of bright colors, and this was a special mark of his favor to Joseph, and it made his older brothers very envious of Joseph. And then, too, Joseph was a good boy. He always did what was right, while his older brothers often did very wrong acts, of which Joseph sometimes would tell their father. And this made them very angry at Joseph. But they hated him still more because of two strange dreams he had. One day Joseph said to his brothers, "Listen to this dream that I've dreamed. I dreamed that we were all out in the field binding sheaves, when suddenly my sheaf stood up, and all of your sheaves came around it and bowed down to mine." And his brothers said scornfully, "So you suppose then that this dream means that you'll sometime rule over us, and that we shall bow down to you? Is that right?" And then a few days later, Joseph said, "I've dreamed again. I've had another dream, and this time I saw in my dream the sun and the moon and 11 stars all come and bow down to me." And his father said to him, "Why do you dream such dreams? Shall I and your mother and your brothers come and bow down before you?" His brothers hated Joseph and wouldn't speak kindly to him, but his father thought much of what Joseph had said. At one time, Joseph's 10 older brothers were taking care of the flock in the fields near Shechem, which was nearly 50 miles from Hebron, where Jacob's tents were. And Jacob called Joseph to him, and he said, "Your brothers are near Shechem with the flock. I want to know if they're well, and if the flocks are doing well, and I want you to go and check on them and bring me word from them." That was quite a big errand for a boy. He'd have to travel alone over the country, finding his way for 50 miles, and then walk back home by himself. But Joseph was a boy that could take care of himself, and he could be trusted. So Joseph left on his journey, walking northward over the mountains, past Bethlehem and Jerusalem and Bethel. Except for Jerusalem, we cannot be sure that any of these cities actually had been built at this time. When Joseph reached Shechem, he couldn't find his brothers because they'd taken the flocks on to another place. A man met Joseph wandering in the field and asked him, "Whom are you seeking?" And Joseph said, "I'm looking for my brothers, the sons of Jacob. Can you tell me where I can find them?" And the man said, "They're at Dothan, for I heard them say that they were going there." And then Joseph walked over the hills to Dothan, which was another 15 miles farther. His brothers saw him coming a long way off, and they recognized him by his bright garment. And one of them said to another, "Look, here comes that dreamer. Let's kill him. Let's kill him and throw his body into a pit and say that some wild beast has eaten him, and then we'll see what becomes of his dreams." One of the brothers, named Reuben, felt more kindly toward Joseph than the others, but he didn't dare oppose them openly. Reuben said, "Let's not kill him, but let's just throw him into this pit and out here in the wilderness and leave him here to die." But Reuben intended, after they'd gone away, to go and lift Joseph out of the pit and take him home to his father. The brothers did as Reuben told them. They threw Joseph down into the empty pit, and then they sat down and ate dinner while their brother was in the pit. After dinner, Reuben chanced to go to another part of the field, so that he wasn't there when a group of men passed by with their camels, heading for Gilead, which was east of the river Jordan. They were going to sell spices to the Egyptians. And then Judah, another of Joseph's brothers, said, "What good will it do to us to kill our brother? Wouldn't it just be better for us to sell him to these men and let them carry him away? After all, he is our brother, and we better not kill him." And the brothers agreed to stop the men who were passing by, and they pulled Joseph up out of the pit. And then for 20 pieces of silver, they sold Joseph to these men who took him away with them down to Egypt. After a while, Reuben came to the pit where he left Joseph, and he looked down into it, but Joseph wasn't there. Reuben was now in great trouble, and he came back to his brothers and said, "The boy's not there. What are we going to do?" And then his brothers explained to Reuben what they had done. And they all agreed together to deceive their father. So they killed one of the goats and dipped Joseph's coat down in its blood. And they brought the coat to their father and said, "Look at this coat we found and see if you think it was maybe Joseph's coat." And Jacob looked at it and he knew at once, and he said, "It is my son's coat. Some wild beast has eaten him." There's no doubt that Joseph has been torn in pieces. They all tried to comfort him, but even then his heart was broken over the loss of Joseph. And Jacob said, "I'll go down to the grave mourning for my poor lost son." So the old man sorrowed for his son Joseph. And all the time, the wicked brothers knew that Joseph was not dead, but sold as a slave. They wouldn't tell their father the dreadful deed that they'd done to their little brother, Joseph.
Precious memories, unseen angels, sent from somewhere to my soul.